What is going on, guys? Simple Florida Fishing here, and tonight it's pretty late. It's currently 11:07 p.m. We're gonna do some fly tying. So fly fishing is something I've been really getting into in the past 3 weeks or so, and I've been tying my own flies. I've done it a little bit in the past. I've tied my own hand tied jigs. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have seen and watched the peacock fishing videos early on in this year. um, I tied some hand-tied hair jigs and used them in Miami for some peacock bass, also in Naples. But now I'm getting into fly tying for fly fishing. So, um, real quick, let me show you guys what we're going to be tying. We're going to be tying a couple different bait fish patterns, probably just two for right now. Um, First one, we're going to be using, these are cheaper materials, very cheap. As you can see, these are only $2.99 at my local fly shop. This is from St. Pete Fishing Outfitters. Shout out to them. They got a really cool fly shop in there. But this is going to be for a mud minnow type of pattern slash tilapia for like those backwater snook and tarpon in canals. Um, so literally just these two materials here, a pair of eyes. I like these eyes a lot. These are from St. Pete Outfitters as well. So I also get these other eyes. These are from Bill Jackson's, and both of these are a 20 pack. But you know, you look at the price of these are $4.25 versus $1.19, and they're very, very similar. So when you're making a lot of these flies, you can save a lot of money, you know, going to different fly shops, figuring out who has the best prices for what. So we're gonna go with these guys today. I actually tied a fly with these eyes already. I tied quite a few bait fish patterns. So these four on the bottom here, I tied myself. This one, I have a Mayan cichlid, and let me take it out and show you. This is a Mayan cichlid pattern I tied for like backwater canals and ponds that have tarpon and snook, the ones that eat the Mayan cichlids. I'm sure this fly would work really good for peacock bass as well down south. So if you check that out, I could have used the darker green on the top, but in the middle there I got like an orange mixed with a blue body and then the red bottom, because if you look at a Mayan cichlid, those are kind of the colors. And I trimmed it to be more of like a round type of shape like one too. So and then we got, here's one I tied just the other day. This is a shad pattern, so perfect for like largemouth and ponds. Also snook loves shad, so did tarpon. And I got a couple others here. This one, I call this the pinfish. It can be like a mud minnow or a pinfish. I tied it with a pinfish in mind, so that'll be good for like the flats, anywhere where you have fish feeding on pinfish. And then actually, I'm working on a video right now that I I filmed about 3 weeks to a month ago. I'm quite behind because I've been getting into this, you know, and doing all this, and I had some other stuff going on. But I filmed a video going tarpon fishing, caught a snook. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I think I even posted a community post. It was about a 30 inch, maybe 31-inch snook. So I edited that video today, but it's having a little bit of difficulties. So I was planning on having it up tomorrow by noon, but at this point it's not going to be up till probably about Monday, maybe Tuesday. But sometime this, within the next few days for sure. And then I filmed another video, two videos I filmed, fly fishing on the flats for redfish. Day one did not go as planned. It was super fired up, fish everywhere. And on this exact fly here, this is the second one I tied, because the first one I broke off in a redfish, and I have a clip of that. I'll probably show it. But it was about probably a 32-inch redfish, and it just freaking, I tried to set the hook on them, you know, and with fly fishing, when you gotta like strip set the hook and then lift up the rod. My natural instincts, you know, with traditional fishing is lift up the rod, set the hook. So that's what I kind of did, and that shock tension kind of just broke it right away. But yeah, big redfish ate this pilchard pattern, so I came home right away and just tied another one. It works really good. So I did film a fly fishing video the next day, because I was missing redfish left and right but didn't catch anything. So also broke off on a little snook too. So I filmed a video a couple days later after that I caught a really big ladyfish. and a couple pinfish, which was stupid on this fly actually. This is one I did not tie. I bought this one, but the pinfish were eating that up, and I think I also had a sea trout all the way to my feet, and it came off. And then on one of my shrimp patterns that I tied is what I caught the ladyfish on. Here's just a few. I tied all of these ones here, and then these two crabs here I tied. These ones I bought, and then that crab, obviously, that's a really good crab. I didn't tie that. Eventually, I will get that good. So, and here's a couple other crabs I tied. This one, actually, I tied this one, I believe I tied this one last night. This was last night. Perfect little crab pattern there for like bonefish, redfish. And I tied this one today. It's a little bit, same thing, but pretty much just a different color, brown and green. So this will be more so for like grass flats and things like that. But we're just gonna go ahead and get into the fly tying, I guess. So I just want to show you guys a couple of the flies that I've been kind of working on and what I've been getting into. So if you guys want to stick around, go on ahead, because it might be, you know, an hour fly tying. If not, it's okay. You guys can always come back and watch this live, because it'll be posted for anyone to go and watch at any time. Let's see the comments here. Cool stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Hello from the UK. Just sharing the love to all streamers, and I just want to say you are enough 1,000 times enough, and every time you doubt it, remember that you are not alone, and keep smiling. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Especially being a small YouTuber, you know, the motivation is needed. Sometimes I really do feel like I just want to give up on YouTube. Sometimes I'm like, you know, a lot of times I go fishing off camera, and I really just like, I enjoy fishing off camera sometimes more than I do with the camera, because sometimes when I'm recording, it's like I stress out to catch a fish so much that I just don't focus on the fishing as much as I should. So a lot of times I'll just go off camera just to kind of, you know, and of course when I go off camera is when I catch big fish, you know, it's stupid. Love your videos, man. Thank you, thank you. Nice job on the fly fishing. Thank you, sir. If you enjoy fly fishing, stay tuned, because I plan on posting a lot more content when it comes to fly fishing. It's something that I got into about a little over 2 years now. I think it was February of 2022 when I really got into fly fishing. And this box behind me, believe it or not, is filled to the brim with fly fishing stuff. I have, let's see how many fly setups I have. I have a 4-weight, I have a 6-weight, I have a 7-weight, and I have 2 8-weights. So I have 5 fly setups. It's something that I don't do, I haven't done much since I like really got into it, because I kind of just like got out of it. But now I'm getting into it big time, so I may go to 50% fly fishing, 50%, you know, traditional regular fishing. So I may do, you know, some fly tying tutorial videos like this, like we're gonna cover here in a little bit. We're gonna get to tying these soon. Just want to talk a little bit here on the live. So let's see. I'm actually thinking about getting into it. Have friends who do it. Who do though? Yeah, fly fishing's awesome. I love it. It's really like it's like finesse fishing, you know, in a whole nother ball game. The one thing about fly fishing is, I will say, and from fly fishing the past couple of weeks, like off camera, you know, sometimes like I'll get frustrated and I'll be like, oh, this is why I stopped fly fishing. But then I remind myself, you know, it's the challenge and catching that fish that is rewarding, because when you do catch that fish, you, not only do you have opportunities with the fly rod that you wouldn't have with traditional fishing, but it's 10 times more rewarding, because, you know, like posting a picture on Instagram with, you know, a fly rod and, you know, let's say a 30-inch snook, you know, most people will look at that and be like, oh yeah, cool, look, oh, he caught on the fly rod, oh, whatever, you know, I catch 30-inch snook all the time on my, you know, 3,000. But guys who fly fish and they see that and they're like, that's really cool, man. I know what it takes to catch a fish like that on the fly. Because with the fly, you know, you can only cast so far at one time. A lot of times you got to get really close up to these fish. So what I say is, it's about 90% hunting and 10% fishing, but it is a million times more rewarding. So I would love to, which I can do. I figured out in Miami, not only does it have all the exotics, but it also has some really good fly fishing for bonefish. You know, just down in Biscayne Bay, which is like 20 minutes away from my peacock spots I have down there, is some of the best bone fishing in Florida. You know, so Biscayne Bay all the way down to Key West is definitely like doable for me. I can just hop in my car and go. You know, like obviously I can't go to the Bahamas anytime. Obviously I can plan a trip to do that, you know, of course, but you know, we could just drive 5 hours down to Biscayne Bay and go get on some of these bonefish. That'd be really awesome. I'm from the area. You're talking about exit one. Exit one on what? You talking about Biscayne Bay? Or you talking about like down in Miami area? Um, if you're from that area, I'm not from there. If you know, you may know I'm from St. Petersburg area, so I got to do quite a drive to go down there. But I will say it is some of the best fishing. So let's get into some fly tying. So like I said, we're gonna be tying a brownish color. We're gonna use a tan belly and a brown back, um, and then just some eyes. And when we finish this fly, this bait fish pattern, I want to try. I think I tried once to kind of color lines in the body with a Sharpie, and it didn't really work that well with these EP fibers here. But we'll try it out. We'll see how it comes out. So we're gonna tie this. So the hook we're gonna be using for um, pretty much all my bait fish patterns. You could use this hook, or you could even use like a hook that's meant for tying bait fish. I actually buy these 1/0 live bait hooks by Gamakatsu. They are actually offset J hooks. But the thing about this, the offset, obviously it's offset, if you can kind of see that, you know, but I honestly feel like they have quite a good hookup ratio when it comes to fly fishing and strip setting on some snook, and redfish or whatever. So that's the hook we're gonna be rocking for at least these couple bait fish we're gonna tie here. So after we tie this mud minnow type of pattern, we're gonna go ahead and tie a pretty similar pattern to that pilchard I showed you guys earlier. This is gonna be another pilchard pattern, except this time it's gonna be a little bit of a darker back. And the same white. This white is called polar bear. It's more of like an off-white, but it's pretty much white. I also have white as well, but we're gonna use the polar bear for the belly and go with some olive for the back. Pretty simple stuff. I have my materials drawer right here behind me. We got all kinds of hairs in here. I got all different colors of this Congo hair here. A couple different blues, green, red, orange, gray, white, black, all sorts of stuff. Also got some other types of hair in here as well. This stuff looks really cool. May do a bait fish with this in the future. But yeah, we'll get into some tying here. All right. Got the vise ready to go. Got our 1/0 J hook on there. Down south Miami. Yeah, you guys got some good fishing down there, man. That's for sure. That is for sure. You got all the saltwater aspect. I know off Miami Beach, if you want to go offshore fishing, you can go a mile off the beach and it's like 800 feet deep. That's what I heard at least. Ooh, I gotta sneeze. Ooh. So, for every fly that I tie, I always start with a super glue base. This is a super glue that actually does not dry instantly. It takes some time to dry. And I actually particularly like that. So when I'm working with the fly, stuff isn't getting stuck all to it, So this takes about 24 hours to fully cure. So every fly I tie, that's why I have these couple crabs sitting here that I just tied today. And one was last night, but I like to let them sit for at least 24 hours before I throw them in my fly box and ready to use. So just a very, very faint little bit. So with the thread, we're only gonna come to probably not even halfway to the hook shank. So I'm just gonna put just a little dabble, just a tiny little dabble of super glue right on the top. And always wipe the tops of the UV resin and super glue just to keep it pretty clean. That's what I do. And then once I have just that little globber on there, what I'll do is take a toothpick or any type of bobbin pick or whatever. I just use a toothpick and just kind of smear it 360 degrees around the hook. Get it on the top and the bottom, just in that little front portion where our thread is going to be. Just like that. Simple, simple. And then with this bait fish pattern, I keep the hook up, obviously with the point down, because with most flies, at least bait fish patterns, usually you want your hook to be on the bottom of the fly and then the back coming off of it, like the ones that I showed you. So first things first, we're gonna get our thread on there. Today I'm going to be using some Danville's thread. This is waxed Flymaster Plus. Every one of my threads actually is this, except for one. I really like this Danville stuff, and it's 210 denier, so it's a little bit of the thicker stuff, but I like that for the saltwater flies. Very durable. So we're just gonna start the thread on there. Oh, came off. What I like to do is just kind of get it started and then wrap it over itself like that. And like I said, we're not going to go far at all. We're just going to go, very close there, and then we'll just snip the end off of here. I need to get some fine point scissors, so I've just been kind of working in between, nail clippers and then these regular scissors I use for trimming. But some fine tip scissors would be probably a lot better. So we get our thread started. Now we are going to first tie on the back and then the belly. So I like to go a little heavier on the belly material. So we're gonna just get a little strip of the back material here, what we're gonna use for the back. And a fly fishing saying I've heard from a few fly tying guys I watch on YouTube is less is more. So you gotta keep in mind, we're gonna be folding this on the back. I'll show you guys. But basically, whatever you pick out, it's going to be double of the thickness of that. So literally just a very sparse bit of material there, just very light for the back, which that might even be too much, but we're just gonna go ahead and roll with it because that's about how much I do when I'm tying these bait fish. All right, what up, brother? What's going on, man? Doing some fly tying today. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that top material started there. I just like to do one, maybe two wraps at first, kind of even it out, before I start doing some really tight wraps. Get it even on there. Then we can do a couple tight wraps up towards the eye of the hook. All right. Maybe a couple more, get a little farther closer to the eye. All right, now what we'll do, fold it back over on top of itself. That's why I said less is more. And we're going to be basically doubling it. And that's what I mean by that. All right. So boom, right there. That is the top material. So that's it. Now we will invert the fly, put it on the opposite side, upside down basically. And now we will pick out, let me put this away. We'll now pick out our body material. So with these bait fish, pretty much it's just a back and a body. That's it. Unless you want to add some flash in there or any fancy stuff like that. But for this fly, we're not going to do that. We're just tying a basic brown, bait fish fly for canals, even mud flats for those redfish that feed on some mud minnows. And like I said, I'm going to try to, draw some stripes with a Sharpie, but I don't know if that'll really work. So we're going to go a little heavier, a little thicker on the body material. So yeah, just about the full length, about as thick as what we have brown on there, because when we double this over, then that'll be even thicker than the brown material we have on there. This might even be too much, but we're gonna roll with it and see how it comes out. Cut that off, put that to the side. All right, now basically just do the same thing. Pretty much tie it right on the bottom. I kind of tied that top material a little farther back than I like to, so that's okay though. So we're gonna put some eyes on this thing anyway. Get a couple solid wraps, get it a little tight, and then we'll go up a little bit here. 1, 2, 3. We'll double it over. Get that thread a little bit closer there. This is the tricky part because we got the hook point right there. Try to hold that there. Just double that over. All right, now, if you guys can see, let me try to get that even around that hook point. Let's see if I can bring the camera a little bit closer. Let's see what we got. Hey man, what's the best time to fish that canal by Sawgrass Elementary? I don't know what canal you're talking about, my friend. Anyways, so if you guys can see what we got going on here. I don't know if that camera will focus. Can we get it to focus? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if it's gonna focus because I'm on live, but it's basically like, it's a clump. So what we're gonna do is, we're going to build up the head of the fly with some thread here, basically. And this one might take a little more than usual, only because I did it a little farther back than I like to. So we'll just build that head up, get it kind of even. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Like I said, we're gonna throw some eyes on this thing. So some eyes, a pair of eyes and some UV resin will kind of help to make that head shape. Let's see how we're looking on this side here. All right, we're looking pretty good. So we get a fairly decent shaped head there. That's basically it, you know. So we will put this back upright. So that's our shape. This one should come out fairly decent. So now I'm gonna do a whip finish. This is something, I'm not really the greatest at whip finishing. I've done it a few times already, but basically it's just a little tool here to help you finish off your fly, tying a little security knot on there. Let's see, I told you I'm not the best at it. Too much line out here, right about there. All right, we'll create our whip finish. I like to go around 4 times, 3, depending on the fly, of course. And 4, go down, boom, there we are. Kind of tighten that down there. There we go. And with the whip finish, we can go ahead and cut it flush all the way to the fly. I really need to get a pair of some fine point scissors. Luckily that UV resin will kind of cure it up. So for the UV resin, I want to get a couple other kinds. I think Solarez is like the best in my opinion. This is the thin hard, so it's fairly thin for the most part, and it dries really, really hard. So it's, you know, there's a reason why some people call this head cement, because it pretty much is head cement. But they also have a thick hard formula, They have one called Bone Dry. The thick hard formula, obviously, it's the exact same thing. It's just a little bit of a thicker consistency. So for particularly for building up a head like this, you would want thick hard, but thin hard works great. You know, I've been getting away with it for a lot of things, but the thick hard is just a little bit of a thicker consistency, exact same thing. And then they have a formula called Bone Dry. This is all in the Solar Res. So the Bone Dry is like really almost like water based. So it's perfect for, you know, just soaking those threads to kind of let the UV resin soak into it, you know, to where it's a lot better. So as I'm tying the fly here and there, I may put a drop of Bone Dry. That's why I want to get it. So there's that UV resin all the way up in there that it's just completely durable. And then there's another formula called Flex, and that's for flies that basically I actually have a shrimp pattern right here. Let me show you guys this. I'll just leave it in the bag. But I tied this one, and if you can kind of barely see there, I kind of built my own little horn. And all I did was take some of the EP fibers, which is actually this exact one here, and I pretty much put UV resin on it, this thin hard, and I just used my fingers to kind of like string it out, and then the little UV light to harden it up. And you know, it works, but the Flex formula is made for doing things like that, so it gives it a little bit of a flexibility instead of, you know, where it's like it'll crack and, you know, once it's hard and then be all bent over. So I would like to have three, which I would never really use the Flex, but the three that I want is thin hard, which I have this bottle, which is like still halfway, and then I have a whole nother one unopened, the thick hard, and then the Bone Dry. Those are probably the ones that I'll go with. Obviously, I'm just getting back into fly tying, so the materials will add up as time goes on. So back to the fly. Um, as you can see, this thing kind of broke, so I had to put some electrical tape and some thread around it and make my own sort of little top here because it started to leak. That's why I bought a new one, but I figured if I don't have to waste all this, why use a brand new bottle? Might as well just use this as much as I can, save some money. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna load it up because we're gonna put eyes on it and then we'll have to load it up after that. But just enough UV resin on there just to kind of get the threads wet, you know, just to lock them in, so we can put the eyes over it and some more UV resin. So I'll just put this around the entire head that we built. Just around the whole thing there. And then we'll UV cure it. Normally the UV light, these are supposed to cure within, you know, 10 seconds, 15 max, but this light is a little bit weak. I'm gonna have to get a better one eventually, but for right now, it works. So we'll just put that UV light right on there and then just kind of slowly spin it around. I'll probably do this for about maybe 1 minute just to be secure. And, you know, obviously we're gonna put some more UV resin on there as well, so I'll have to cure it up some more in a minute. So the next step after this, after putting some head cement on there, we're gonna basically glue some eyeballs. Normally, I do put a dab of super glue and then put the eyeballs on and then UV resin around it. But for this one, we might just put some UV resin and just pretty much call it a day. But we'll see. I might just do it how I normally do it. By now, that should be rock hard, but I have a feeling like it's not. Yeah, see, it's a little bit wet still. It's not supposed to be. These UV lights normally cure it within seconds, but it's all right. And let me know in the comments if you guys actually enjoy things like this, because I may start doing some videos of like fly tying tutorials. I even actually make my own fly fishing leaders. I spend hours and days coming up with different formulas for different flies. Like I have a saltwater formula, I have a standard formula, I have a dry fly formula, a streamer formula. So uh, 99% of the time when I'm fly fishing, I'll use one of the leaders that I make personally. Or, you know, if I decide to go for some bonefish or something, I'll probably use a store-bought leader just to be on the safe side. I could use a leader that I buy, I just got to make sure it's fluorocarbon, which is a little more expensive, but pays off, gets more bites, and it's really good. Alright, so now we got the head cement on there. It's pretty UV cured. Cured enough to the point to where we can throw some eyes on it. So, like I said, we're gonna use some of these fairly cheap eyes. They're not that bad quality. They got like a little translucency to them. They look pretty sparkly. It'll catch the attention of a fish. And this brand here, this is the silver. They also come in red, gold, chartreuse, yellow, brown. They have many different colors, green, but I figured silver is the most universal, and I just wanted to try this brand because they're quite a lot cheaper. So I just wanted to buy one pack, and so far I really like them, so I'll probably start buying this brand a lot more. So I'm just gonna do what I normally do instead of you know, trying something new and just using the UV resin. I'll usually just put just a little dabble on there for the eyeball just to sit on, and then I'll fill the gap with some UV resin and then UV cure it till it kind of stays secure. And then we'll also build up a head around that as well. See, with them out of the bag, you can kind of see it a little bit better. I don't know if the light's kind of catching that good enough, but they got some good flash to them. So you guys might not be able to see from my angle. I'll try to put it sideways. Maybe you guys can see a little bit. Yeah, when I do like fly tying tutorial videos, I'll probably have my camera a lot closer to the vise. But for right now, it is what it is. Just a little dabble of some super glue. Not much at all. Literally just enough to stick the eyeball on there so we can get some UV resin around it. So take one of these eyes here. Let's see. Here we go. We'll just stick that right on top of where we put the glue. I try to keep it as symmetrical as possible. So as straight in the middle as I can. And just like that. It's not stuck down yet, so what we gotta do is, it's just being held in place. I'll take some UV resin, and there's like this little gap right in between the eye, because the eye is taller than the head that we built. So we'll put some of this UV resin right in the crease. Right in the crease of this eye here. And then we'll go ahead and kind of move the eyeball around to where we want it. And then seed it with the UV light. Make sure that's symmetrical as possible. As straight as can be. Okay. It's pretty good there. So we'll just hold the UV on it for maybe 15 seconds or so just to get it hard to where it'll stay in place. Because we're going to do the same thing on the bottom side as well. Because when we have these eyes on here, there's going to be a gap in between the two eyes. And we're going to fill that gap with some UV resin to make a round shaped head. We'll just hold that there. How long have we been going for? Oh, 34, a little over 34 minutes. It's a while. I guess not as long as my first live. My first live, I went spot hopping in the area and fished for like 2 hours on live the whole time. We'll just cure that there. Should be good to go. Should be good. Yep, that's good. So before we build up the head too much yet, I'm put the light on there just for another second. Okay, that should be good. We'll attach the eye to the other side. And then we'll go ahead and throw the UV resin around the entire thing, fill it up, and harden it up. So take our little dabble super glue here. Just a little tiny bit. Wipe that off. We'll get our little eye here. I will say the packaging on the more expensive ones are a little bit better, but as far as the eyes that you're getting, it's basically the same thing for cheaper price here, so I don't mind it. Get that on there as close as we can to being completely even with that other eyeball. We'll just, yeah, see that's, I'm gonna have to move that, but for right now, we'll put some UV resin on it, and then we'll kind of seat it exactly where it needs to be, and then we'll cure it. So we'll just throw some of that resin in there. These eyeballs might not come out perfect, but they'll come out pretty close. Nothing's perfect in life. It's an imperfect world. I might just have to kind of hold them in place. Take that light. There's multiple ways to do this. I mean, you can hold it in place. Chances are, you know, I mean, if it's moving around on you a lot, you might have to move it in, like hold it in place. But I like to normally just let it rest. But we're going to have to do a little manipulating the fly here to get it to do what we need it to do. There we go. That's held in place for the most part. As long as it's like 95% symmetrical, you know, then that's good enough for me at least. It's not like I'm selling these, you know. If I was selling these, I would probably, you know, make sure every single one is completely perfect to the T. By the way, if any of you guys are interested in buying some simple Florida fishing flies, let me know in the comments below and I may start a little shop where I can sell some fly fishing leaders, fly fishing flies, and maybe also some hand-tied hair jigs for you guys down south that want to go for some peacock bass. I bet you the hair jigs, I haven't used them for any snook yet, but I bet you they'd be really good for snook and tarpon and canals too. So we'll just build up that little head there. We're gonna have to probably do about 2 layers of that, but here's our first layer. So yeah, so at this point, when we finish the eyes, the bait fish is basically done. All we gotta do is just take it off the vise, trim it to whatever shape we want. We can have it more of like an oval, rounder shape, or more of a shorter circle shape. And I think we're gonna go for kind of in between, you know, just a little bit longer of a circle basically, to imitate one of those mud minnow or even tilapia bait fish. We're gonna try to put some stripes on this one. Not too sure how the EP fibers are gonna react. I think I tried it one time a couple days ago on a bait fish and it didn't really go as planned. It didn't really go through the EP fibers, but it should. So we'll try it. All right, flip it over, we'll do the same thing. Like I said, we're gonna do about 2 coats of this on each side. I like to get it in between the creases of the EP fibers as well, because I could just take this little needle point that's on the end of this and just kind of inject it into a little bit of the fibers there. Just hold that there for a second. And once we're done here, then we'll just go ahead and start with the second coat on the bottom side since we already have it here. Then we'll do the top side, and then we're basically good to go. So for the second coat, I like to actually overlap it on top of the eyes a little bit since this stuff cures completely clear. I like to go on top of the eyes a little bit from the head, from the middle here, so that it kind of gives it more durability. It kind of like grabs that eye, and holds it on there. So we'll go ahead and do our second coat on the bottom side here. Probably help to hold it upside down. There we go. We'll just go a little bit on top of that eye just to grab it. All right, that's our second coat on the bottom. This is what I want to do for our business one day. That helps a lot. You and me both, my friend. I would love to have a simple Florida fishing shop and be able to live off making YouTube videos and doing that. That is my dream. I've always wanted to have a tackle store, a tackle shop, ever since I was a little kid. But at this point, I'd like to be like a CEO of a big fishing company. That's definitely what I would like, career-wise. All right, so once we have that bottom coat, then we'll go back up to the top, and we'll do our second coat up top here as well. And do the same thing as the bottom, overlap it on top of the eyes just a little bit. Just a little bit so it kind of grabs the top there. There we go. And once in a blue moon, sometimes you'll have to do 3 coats, but usually 2 coats does it. This looks like it'll be perfect with 2 coats, so that's good. I don't like to use a whole giant glob, of this UV resin. I like to just do as much as I need, but this is perfect here. Just hold that light there for a second. Get a nice close up. Spin it around a little bit as we do that. All right. For the most part, pretty much cured. So that is our tie right there. Go ahead and take that off the vise. It's now in the stage to trim, because obviously we're not gonna have a bait fish that big on this little 1/0 hook. So I'll just kind of make sure the fibers are going over the hook point as I want them to. Make sure there's not too much on one side. Once you get it about even, make sure your top and your bottom are kind of even with each other. And always make sure you got some sort of trash can around your fly tying area. For me, it happens to be a 3-gallon bait bucket with a garbage bag. So what we'll do is you kind of just go with a flow when it comes to trimming. No technique in specific, but some people do draw out templates on like cardboard, and they trim their flies that way, which is a pretty smart idea if you want to get that exact shape every single time. But I've found myself to be fairly decent at eyeballing the amounts that I like to use. This fly, it's nothing perfection, but it's going to be a good one for fishing the canals that I fish a lot for snook and little tarpon. So like I said, I'm going to shoot for more of a circular type of shape here. Let's see if we can get that nice circular shape, kind of like that Mayan cichlid fly I tied that I showed you guys in the beginning. That's kind of the shape I'm going for with this one. I was kind of saying this one's more of like a mud minnow pattern, but honestly, this one's going to be more of like a tilapia type of pattern, which is perfect for the canals. Let's do some fine tuning here. Make sure there's no stray hairs sticking on the side. Trim a little bit off the top as well. Just a little bit there to blend it. There's always stray hairs that want to stick out when it comes to these EP type of fibers. Just trim those off. This is like one of the most important parts of fly tying here, is making sure your trimming comes out as perfect as possible. And always keep in mind, trim less because you can always trim more off. But once you trim it off, there ain't no more putting it back on. And you spend all the time and effort tying these flies. So just want to make sure not to mess them up in this stage, because then it's a waste of material and you got to start over all over again. So that's basically it right there. We got our tilapia pattern. I may do a little bit more fine trimming in a little bit, but that's basically roughly our shape there. So what I'm gonna do with this one that I've not done yet with a fly is I'm going to, you know what? I'm gonna shorten that up a little bit more, because I feel like that brown is just too thick all the way here. So I'm just gonna kind of like trim a little bit more and make that brown tail kind of stick out a little bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna trim a little bit, just a little bit more off of that one before we do the lines. Very important step here. Just make it into a little bit of a smaller profile. Alright, there we have it. Definitely not the most perfect of all flies, but definitely will probably get the job done. Good little tilapia pattern there. And now we're gonna color it with some Sharpie. Hopefully this goes well. I've never done this before. I've tried to do like one line on one bait fish and it didn't really go as planned, so I was just like, I'll try it on another fly someday. So this will be that fly. Normally I would just go ahead and call it at this point and be like, there we are, there it is, nice little bait fish. But we're gonna add some detail to this one. If it comes out the way I'm envisioning it to, then it's gonna be a pretty cool little fly. And once you start making flies, you can't stop doing it. It's a therapy. I definitely agree. It definitely is. I feel like I've came a very long way in 2 weeks of doing it, believe it or not. Ooh. All right. So, just so I don't draw on, I have a towel here on the table. Just so I don't draw on that, I'm gonna go ahead and use a paper towel for a backing to lay the fly on while I draw these stripes. So I don't think you guys can really see this that well. Let's see if I can maybe angle my phone down a little bit more. Probably not. It's not gonna work. Just bear with me for a minute, just while I draw these lines on here. I'm gonna try to kind of like pull the fibers together and press them down, and hopefully that makes it a little easier. Yeah, I feel like it might work. Coming out a little thicker than I wanted. Just one stripe. I'm gonna do 3 stripes. Definitely probably be easier with a material like craft fur. But we're getting it on there, it's working. 2 stripes. And now for the 3rd. I was going to tie like 2 flies on live, but I think I'll just wrap it up with this one. Only because it's getting pretty late. It's midnight actually on the dot right now. Comment down below if you guys want to watch me tie one more fly for the night. If not, it's all good. It's all good. I might be up for a little bit tying a couple more flies. So now we'll do, here I'll show you the one side I got so far. I probably could have done that a little bit better, but it adds a little bit of a pattern into it. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just add a little color on there. I think I'm figuring out if you kind of dot it on there rather than try to draw an actual line, just dot your line, kind of comes out a lot better. I just hope those stripes don't kind of wash off when we go to use it. So that's basically it right there. Boom. And boom, here's the other side. I may trim it up just a little bit more. You know, I might actually add one more line just because it kind of looks too far back, you know, so I might add a 4th line right there, kind of where the hook is. I'm gonna do that real quick. I feel like it'll come out a lot better. That's one side. Let's do the other side. I think this looks a little bit better. I think I should probably trim it up a little bit more to make it like that body's kind of coming over the hook a little too much in my opinion, but for the most part, it's looking pretty all right. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna trim it up just a little bit. Just a little more trim in here. Almost done. Just gonna give it a way better shape, I feel like. And there we have it. Our tilapia slash mud minnow pattern. Right there, just with some Sharpie stripes. Seems like it came out pretty well. I mean, it's not a top-notch fly. It's my first time putting some stripes on something, but the more I do it, the better it'll come out. Pretty good though, pretty good. I feel like it'll work in the canals really good for the snook and tarpon. Eyes are pretty straight. I'll try to put this up to the camera. If it'll focus, probably not, but the eyes came out pretty good, pretty good. I would say about 99.9% straight. We got that UV resin head there. And yeah, we got our little brown body there with the 4 stripes. Very, very good pattern for throwing some snook in canals, even on some mangrove lines where you have any type of like mud minnows. Tarpon as well in those backwater canals that feed on, you know, tilapia, mud minnows, things like that, and even redfish over in the mud flats when they're feeding on these little guys here. Because if you look at the mud minnows that are on the flats, basically they look like this. They're small, brown, like a two-tone brown basically, with some stripes in them. So the only thing I feel like I could have done a little bit different was maybe just put a little bit of red flash in the very middle of it, like some red crystal flash on the hook coming out of the end, just to add a little bit of red to the body there, like a little bit of a red flash to catch their attention. But it looks like a very good natural pattern for, like I said, snook, tarpon, and redfish around mangroves and flats and canals and things like that. So that's gonna be about it. I was gonna tie multiple flies, but I'll tie that one for now. Maybe I'll go live again tomorrow if you guys stay tuned. We're coming on to about an hour of being live, but if you guys would like to join my live tomorrow, I'm gonna plan, let's say around 12 p.m. Somewhere around noon, between 11 and 1, I'll be going live. So you guys look out for that, and we'll probably tie a pilchard pattern. I have some craft fur here. Oh, got some red hair attached to it. Got some craft fur here. I want to try a new craft fur baitfish. And maybe even tie one of my shrimp patterns, since I've tied quite a few so far, and I've gotten really used to it. So maybe we'll do a longer live tomorrow and tie 1 or 2 baitfish and then a shrimp and a crab or something. So you guys stay tuned for tomorrow. And if you guys would like to tune in, then be on the lookout around noon, somewhere around there, and we will definitely tie some more flies. So y'all stay tuned.